So I got in contact with my oversoul about a month ago in a meditation led by one of my healing colleagues, one of my hollow bone colleagues. And that was pretty amazing and very eye-opening in many ways. And there were, well, let's just say this. I learned in that meditation that in my lifetimes here and elsewhere, I have tended to be more creature than human. And there were a lot of cats. And I told my therapist we were talking about this because I thought that was funny, and he's woo, doesn't matter. And he said, that makes sense because you're kind of always bitching about humans make things so complicated when it's really simple, and that's very cat-like. And he's right. So this reading is about simplicity. And Angel Sarah came falling off my altar to be like, don't make it more complicated than it has to be. And I think that's something we do a lot, is make things a lot more complicated than they need to be, especially when we are trying to find answers or trying to figure something out. One of the ways that we make it much more complicated than it needs to be is by looking everywhere but within. I already shuffled these. Ten of Wands. Looking everywhere but within. Ten of Wands. And it seems like, how the heck did that happen? I don't even know. Literally just shuffled these. I guess it flipped itself over. That's the one. We make things a lot more complicated because we look everywhere but inside. And the problem is, it's not exactly comfortable to look inside. It's not exactly comfortable to self-reflect. It's not something that a lot of us were given the good skills to do. And so it can be burdensome because we all carry a lot of stuff that maybe we would prefer to keep in the past or not remember. But a lot of that stuff does need to be looked at and addressed. And there is a need for simplicity. There is a need to get rid of this clutter, of this burden that you're carrying. There is a need for it to not be a mess, a bunch of crud hanging around, getting in your way. So let's see what that looks like here. I need to move this. And I'm using inverses again because they keep encouraging me not to do this or telling me to do this. And I listen. Because I'm a good divine servant. It's a lot of inverses there. I always get worried. But I shouldn't. It's just because I'm not used to seeing them. Okay, what are these two? Spirit world, messages, assistance, memories, secret seances. Vodun roots, respect, survival, liberation, freedom. I get the sense that we are ready to move forward, that we feel that we have addressed what we've needed to in the past, and here on this back hill is a little bit of something that we have left unaddressed. And the question here is exactly that. Are we being strong? Do we have the strength to push through? And I think there might be, well, like I said, I think there are some things from the past that we are neglecting that can be our Achilles heel. Ooh. In the background, Empress inverted. guess we're back to the mommy issues. So, but this is, let me broaden that perspective a little bit. There is a real safety and security in what we believe is love and comfort from our past. And there's a conflict here because it's with her inverted like this, and I just see this guy, he's snuggled at her feet, but upside down, he's kind of shrinking away into her coat, saying, protect me, protect me. And so I think there is a past history of not being strong and relying on other people, being afraid of the unknown, where the present moment and where you are requires you largely to step into the unknown and leave things behind, and also do this on your own. And I see the stars up here too. So this is something I think Spirit is guiding you to do, is to walk your own path. But you are reluctant to walk your own path because there is a level of exposure. There's a level of, well, it's being there on your own, and it's going out and doing this on your own that is making you very nervous and making you feel uncomfortable and scared. And unfortunately, like trying to cling to the things you have, which has been a problem here up until this point, is clinging to what we have, whether it's good or bad for us, not really distinguishing the difference, but just existing in the familiarity of it and not wanting to release what isn't serving us, because it is the known. And there seems to be a very big fear of the unknown. Here we are again with that fear of the unknown, right? Which, as we learned a few videos ago, is actually something that is it's a clinical thing in psychology. Intolerance of the unknown, intolerance of that, and that can really hold us back. And here in the seeker position, interestingly enough, is the moon inverted. And I think in that sense, you would really like to see through the veil and be able to see things clearly and have the answers before you walk the path. And that, unfortunately, is not how it works. If we were able to just avoid walking the path by knowing where it's going to end, then we would never change and we would never grow and we would never evolve. If we just knew everything before we did it, knew how things would turn out, we would be stagnant and static throughout our entire lives. There would be nothing that would allow us to grow and develop and learn. And a lot of times that's through discomfort. And so there's an avoidance of discomfort, but there's a real fear of the unknown. There is a fear of doing it alone. And I think there may be some codependency here. Okay, and so now with these cards, Spirit is directing you to go out on your own here. And I think perhaps you have been getting a lot of messages about that. And if there's anything that's been made abundantly clear to me lately, is that even when we are alone, we are not alone, because we always have Spirit and our guides around us to help lead us and to help us along the way, and to help us remember what it is that we've learned, and to give us those messages and that guidance. And it's time for you to find your freedom. And it's not just a physical world freedom. You need to liberate yourself in order to come into who you are authentically. You need to liberate yourself and kind of go on this little journey of self and solitude and doing it alone and allowing yourself to fail. I was saying to a friend on a phone call today, I was talking about failure, and how, geez, in science, failure is an option and we learn from it and it's important. And that is how human beings work. But we live in this toxic society where every time we make a mistake or we mess up, it's not treated as an opportunity for growth. It's just treated as an opportunity for punishment. And that doesn't really help people learn. Shame is not an effective motivator, and neither is shit talk, and neither is fear. Well, that can be, depending on how we learn from it and how we do it anyway. But I just have this feeling like you would rather know before you do anything, and Spirit is leading you into the wilderness, into the mystery, in order to liberate you from this fear that has been holding you back or is trying to. In the outcome, 7 of Cups inverted. So the issue here is that you get overwhelmed. You get overwhelmed with things. You get overwhelmed with possibilities. You may even be somebody like me, neurodivergent, who gets, overwhelmed with stimuli, or, overwhelmed in social situations, or overwhelmed in general. And so you have sort of clung on to people instead of working through that and allowing yourself to figure out what it is that you need in order to get through those situations. And this is not me saying push through it and just, don't be whatever, don't be neurodivergent. It's not about that at all. It is about releasing the fear of it, so that, and accepting, this is what I will have to deal with. And the more you accept that you will be dealing with it, the more you can figure out some adaptive coping strategies and be able to deal with that when it comes up. Not throw yourself into every social situation and try to pretend like it's perfect all the time, because that doesn't happen. But you're not building those strategies because instead you're clinging to safety from the past, and you're not allowing yourself to progress and move forward and develop and grow. Seven of Wands. Oh boy. You feel almost defenseless here. And this again is an illusion. There's a lot of illusions here of not being protected, of not being held. And there was something that came up. These are childhood wounds. Your inner child is calling to you. Recognize and comfort them. As you do, your future self will simultaneously aphasia. Your future self will simultaneously recognize and comfort you. Time is only in the 3D. Beyond that, in our spiritual selves, time is not a thing, and everything we exist simultaneously in our past, present, and future selves. And that's what they mean when they say the only moment is now, because that's the truth of it. And there is a future you that is more grounded, or at least a possible future you that is more grounded and courageous and stable. And there is a past you, an inner child, that for whatever reason is still afraid. And that fear is valid, but it is not here with you now, because you are not in that situation now. You are not dealing with that. And you have the strength of your present adult self and your future wisdom self to help carry you through. Advice from Spirit, King of Pentacles. Spirit is advising you to really be grounded. Spirit is advising you to lean into using your wise mind. That's something I haven't spoken about in a while or said. Spirit is advising you, so maybe that's something you're familiar with. Spirit is advising you to lean in more to using your wise mind. And also slow down. The King of Pentacles is not, a Knight of Swords rushing around to and fro trying to figure everything out at once. The King of Pentacles is grounded and solid and practical, and rushing around and trying to figure everything all out at once is simply not practical, especially for you, dear collective. Be secure in where you are right now, because quite frankly, the circumstances that you find yourself in are honestly very stable. Are they very stable? I think maybe they might not be very stable, because I think Spirit is trying to push you out of that. Yeah, they might not be as stable. Nine of Pentacles inverted. I think Spirit is really trying to push you out of a situation, trying to push you out of your comfort zone right now. And so the situations that you find yourself in are not very comfortable and are sort of breaking down your defenses. And it feels like things are worming their way in. And that is intended not to hurt you. It's intended to make you move, because it is time for you to grow and evolve. And I feel like you've been resisting this. You have been resisting this for some time. Bridget, psychic, look at this. Bridget, psychic flames, 333, sacred milk, druid magic. But Bridget, a very beautiful, nurturing spirit, goddess associated with spring, growth, and renewal. And a very compassionate, mothering, and nurturing goddess who wants you to find that ability within yourself to nurture yourself and treat yourself with kindness, and help yourself grow, and find the trust within yourself to know that you're not some broken individual who has to cling to whatever because of whatever it is that you won't release because you're afraid of everything that we just talked about. This isn't your destiny to be like this, where you are right now, in this fear position where you're clinging to things out of codependency and a fear of being alone or being overwhelmed. It's time for you to step into your power. And Spirit is going to kick you out of the nest here. And and I know this from experience. The more you resist that, the harder it gets. The more painful the fall out of the nest. I'm going to grab another deck because we're at 19 minutes, and I think this one is going to go on YouTube. Yeah, I guess it's this one. Let's clarify. Can we clarify strength here? Ooh. The green woman, is that up or down? That's in flux. It was on top of the Empress, the green woman. This is something, again, we're in this position of being uncomfortable, of going within. And that's where you're going to find that strength. It's in you. It's not anywhere outside of you. It doesn't exist in other people. It's not something that you're supposed to find in someone else so they will carry you across the finish line. That's not your destiny here. And I think Spirit really wants you to understand that, because you're not going to reach You know, your soul's goal in this lifetime, if you're just allowing someone or something else to carry you without doing the work has to be done, and the work that needs to be done is internal. It is going within and finding that connection to spirit, but also to your authenticity. How many do we have here? That just 1, 2, 3. Okay, next 3, I guess. 5 of Bows, empowerment, inverted. So you've been kind of disempowering yourself here by allowing this cycle to continue. Okay, so what I just saw was like 1 step forward, 3 steps back. So it's like thinking about making changes and considering it, but never actually doing it, and allowing yourself to stay stuck in this cycle of codependency because it's easier. Life isn't easy. Life will never be easy. And if we avoid difficulty, if we avoid pain, if we avoid struggle, if we avoid discomfort, then we just stay static and our souls don't grow. And then we have to repeat lifetimes, and nobody wants that. Especially somebody like me who's been more creature than person. This is not a very comfortable place for me. But I'm here doing it anyway. The moon inverted, clarifying with Knight of Bows and the Shaman. I think again, this goes to sort of indicate that you are looking for somebody to lead you, to show you that way, to show you the path, to show you the magic spell that will make everything unfold perfectly in front of you. And that is just not how it works. And I will say this too. I think there was a time in human development where quite possibly, yes, that was definitely a thing that happened, but that is because humans, as a spiritual collective, were not in the same place as we are now. We are on the threshold of a big leap in spiritual evolution. And being that that's where we are, you cannot be led through the forest. You cannot be carried to that finish line. You cannot. You will not find these answers. And the other reason for that is because this is a big leap in your own soul's development. You may be actually going through a dark night right now. And I know I have practitioners of various things in my collective. This is not something you can spell work your way out of. This is something that you do need to face head on and take full responsibility for. And that's why you're going through this time of trial and tribulation, because Spirit is really saying it is time for you to take the reins and step up to the plate of the responsibility of the soul contracts you agreed to in this lifetime. 2 on the bottom here. Outcome, and you're stalling. 2 of Swords, injustice. I think some part of you just does not feel this is fair. And we've got up here, this immediately caught my attention. The scales here, the feather on one side, and gold on the other. With the 2 arrows clutched to her chest. And that there is a sense of material comfort that you are desperate to either obtain or hold on to. And I feel like within you're sort of weighing this idea of what is it? What is success? What is abundance? What is achievement? Is it these 3D creature comforts of material wealth and fancy things and an appearance of all of that? Or is it spiritual enlightenment? And so this is a crossroads for you. And you're going to need to decide what it is that you want to pursue. And I will say this, when you go towards the spiritual development and enlightenment side, yeah, you get a lot more. If you're already a practitioner, there's a lot more that comes with that, a lot more responsibility too. So it's not necessarily an easy path. It's not just, oh, I'm enlightened, now I can do anything. Oh, no. Then it is, how do you use these gifts? Are you using them properly? What are the pitfalls? And these are more things that you have to find out. Boy, you could go the material goods side too, but hey, we're in end stage capitalism here in the United States and our economy is falling apart. The US is literally insolvent right now and on the world stage, and that does not bode well for economic circumstances within this country, and we are due for a big shift and a big shakeup. And so if you are going to cling to these creature comforts and fancy things and material wealth, how long is that going to last? Until you find yourself at the same crossroads yet again. Because you will find yourself at that same crossroads yet again, because your soul always wants to continually develop. And so there's no point in which you say, well, I'm just going to choose this path. You will come against those crossroads over and over and over. You will keep being given that opportunity to evolve. You can keep rejecting it, but it will come up again. And here we have clarifying the King of Pentacles, yet another King of Pentacles, King of Stones here, the wolf. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is for you to strike out on your own and to find your inner strength and your inner power. It is nothing that you will find outside of yourself. It's nothing that anybody can tell you the exact magical formula to create. It all depends on your willingness and ability and persistence in going inside and doing the work, doing the shadow work, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Feeling the discomfort and doing it anyway. And it's not an easy time. It's not an easy time. And I feel like when we said simplicity at the beginning of this reading, if you are wondering why things are so complicated and getting so heavy, it's because Spirit wants you to drop all this garbage and do the right thing. And I think you know what that is. And I've certainly already said it. But I think you know what the right thing was before I even started this reading. It just scares you. And we all feel fear. We all feel fear. Feeling fear is not a reason to not move forward. Feeling discomfort is not a reason to move forward. And make no mistake, discomfort is not equivalent to being unsafe. Those are two very different things. And I know a lot of people don't understand the difference. There's a lot of information on the internet out there. And if you're in therapy, which I hope you are, you can talk to your therapist about that. How do I understand the difference between being uncomfortable and unsafe? And why is allowing myself to be uncomfortable conducive to my own personal growth? Being uncomfortable when you have safety around you is ripe for growth. But you are stuck in this place where it is increasingly growing unsafe. Because Spirit knows that this is not where you need to be in order to grow. You are clinging to this out of a sense of safety that you once held and out of a sense of comfort that you once held. But the truth is, this situation is neither safe nor comfortable for you. And so there is no growth here. It is time to let go of childish things is what I just heard. It is time to grow into the solid, stable, practical, balanced, grounded leader that you were brought into this world to be. And that is not an injustice. It is simply what your soul agreed to when you came here. And there is a need for you to connect with your inner child. You as an adult are not that child. But that child does need you. You as an adult have the ability to make wise decisions and use your resources and use your skills and talents. Even if you were dropped off in the middle of a wilderness somewhere, and this is far from a wilderness that Spirit wants you to enter into. It is simply standing on your own and doing it on your own and making your own choices and learning to trust yourself and learning to accept that trusting yourself means you're going to make some mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Your inner child is terrified of making mistakes. I think your inner child is terrified of making mistakes, of doing anything wrong. There's a fear of abandonment here that's very deep, that needs to be examined. And I think that might be because somebody passed on early in your life. And it's time to heal that. And that person really wants you to heal with that as well. 7, the Archer, which is equivalent to the Chariot in other decks. Get laser focused on this and where you're going. Make no mistake about it. You will be moving forward, but I'm going to tell you something. You're going to hit that target a lot easier if you don't resist, if you stop struggling, if you stand tall and stand firm and really take aim at what it is you want and where you're going. And I think that's another consideration here. I think deep down you want to be that King of Pentacles. You just don't want to know. Excuse me. You just don't like what it takes to get there. But, you can't be a virtuoso classical guitarist if you never practice guitar. And you cannot be that King of Pentacles without going through the struggles that teach you the lessons that earn you that place and earn you that title. So growth and change is part of the path. We can't shortcut our way through spiritual development in 2026. We cannot do this. And again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 50 years ago, 200 years ago, this was a different story. But in 2026, we are being called to expand and grow spiritually. And that means facing the truths, letting go of the childish things, facing the fear and doing it anyway. And knowing that even if the turbulence on the flight is ridiculous, you will still land safely in that beautiful paradise that you bought tickets for long before you were born. You just need to take the first step. Spirit is very much with you on this journey and is a little frustrated because you're fighting a lot. When you lean into the acceptance of what you need to do and take those steps, each one will get easier. And that's not going to be a straight line because growth never is. It's more a roller coaster. Can I have one more card just for some final closing thoughts here, Spirit? Anything for, I don't know, maybe even just a little bit of comfort or encouragement. Ten of Arrows, instruction, and that's Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords in this deck is called instruction. And when we think about the Ten of Swords in any deck, that is the low point, right? But where do we go from that? We only can go up. We learn from that. And that's not to say, every hardship you go through is a blessing. No, it isn't. The blessing is you. The blessing is your ability to take those hard experiences and learn from them and grow and transmute that and heal and create something even more beautiful than that. The nasty crap that people went through wasn't a blessing. Don't ever call that a blessing. The blessing is the person who got through it and is still there and is making their life better. And everyone has that ability. And so do you. Ace of Arrows, and you know it. And you know slithering back to this comfort zone has left you bored and unfulfilled. That's what Spirit has to say. So why not change that? It's going to happen eventually. And there is something about the collective that I'm talking to. There is something about your particular path that is a little bit more meaningful. It's a little bit more intense. You were called to do something greater. And this is why Spirit is kicking you in the butt so hard right now. Because you are resisting that path and falling into this place of, comfort and safety, and it's almost addictive. It's like eating candy every day. It's just pleasurable. But there's more that you're here to do, and there's more for you, and you know this. You know this. There's more out there to learn and understand, and you know this. And you're being called to it. So it is time to get moving and make that choice and get out on that path and know that even if nobody is there to pick you up and carry you across that finish line, you still have everything that you need within you to do it on your own. Believe in yourself and get going, because it's going to be better than you could ever imagine. Love you. If you'd like to book a personal reading or experience a hollow bone healing session, a transformative healing session that can help clear your energy, focus you more on your authenticity and understanding what it is you are here to do and where it is you need to go. You can do that too. You can book me at link. Everything you need is at linktree/Reverend Meggus. That information is down below the video. I hope you have a wonderful day, or evening, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Now I'm just being sassy. Have a good day. Love you. Bye.